Warning. This program is intended for adults only. What you're about to listen to contains explicit language, sexual topics, and don't be surprised if you get wet.
You've just tuned in to PooseBoss with your host, Victoria Lynn.
What's up, guys? It's your girl, Victoria Lynn, and you just tuned into another mini episode of PooseBoss that I like to call a Random Pussy. And this week's topic for Random Pussy are drag kings. I think this is something I'm so excited to share with the world because I feel like not enough people know about this. And please introduce yourself. I have someone great sitting next to me.
I'm Quincy Dents. I'm from LA. I kind of got started in London, but I do drag wherever the calling comes.
Oh, cool.
I do a drag. Yeah.
So did you live in London for a while?
No. So whenever I go on holiday or vacation, I go to London.
Okay.
Like, I kind of wanted to live there,
Uh-huh.
so I would go to London as frequently. I have friends, and so I throw shows there sometimes too, because I also DJ.
Cool.
And I did radio for a long time.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've thrown like benefit shows, concerts, just various things. So I've always wanted to do drag, and I kind of have like basically collected. Oh, the day when I finally am brave enough to do drag, I'll use this outfit, and so I've had like tons and tons of stuff. So I then decided to, because I saw my friend Gemma, who's non-binary and an amazing drag king and performer, non-binary drag performer. They were just doing it and performing because they're in a band. So they were performing, and it looked so amazing and like so much fun. And I was like so happy for them, but I was like, I want to be doing that so badly that I was like, I should just do it. So I was talking with them, and I was already throwing a show, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll throw some drag into the show.
Yeah.
And then I ended up performing at Bar Whatever, like while I was out there for that trip as well.
Cool.
And so Bar Whatever is a really great drag space that's all for all various forms of drag.
Various forms.
Yeah. So, non-binary, bio queens and kings, like any type of drag, all drag is valid, and it's great that they showcase that, and they make sure that they also showcase diversity. Mm-hmm.
So quick question, just because this is something that I would think somebody who's listening might ask is, well, so how is drag different than burlesque?
Drag, generally speaking, when you talk about how it kind of started off as a comical way of dressing as the opposite gender. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like there is a burlesque element to it, but also drag, usually you have kind of one persona or there's some sort of familiarity with every performance that you do, in a way. And drag, you don't have to take off your clothes if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's something where I think burlesque, you kind of have that expectation that a burlesque performer is going to take off all of their clothes.
Or at least be semi-nude.
Yeah. Where there are plenty of amazing drag performers that don't take off their clothes, as well as there are plenty of amazing ones that like take off their clothes, and half the time they do, half the time they don't. It's just the variety. Drag to me, and I'm sure burlesque is a very expressive form of expressing yourself and your own comfort in your own body, and I feel like drag is just another form and variation of that.
So one thing I've always wanted to do that I've never been able to do is go to like a ballroom. That's what they're called, right? Ballroom, when they do the drag walks and like they walk and they do the.
I've never been to one of those
You've
either.
never been-
I've
they
seen
look
them.
so fabulous.
I've seen them on, films and things like that when they're talking about the 80s, but I've never actually been to
We
like
gotta
a
find
ballroom.
one. Maybe you need to start one.
I would love to see a king ballroom.
Yeah, that would be so
Yeah.
dope. Okay, so let's jump into understanding so people can understand more. What are drag queens, or who are drag queens? Are actually more the better question.
Who are drag queens? Well, first off, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be on the record and say this. RuPaul is wrong about drag, and all forms of drag are valid. Drag queens can be bio queens, which would be biologically females. Mm-hmm. They can be non-binary artists that perform as queens, and they can be male-born people that perform as queens. Mm-hmm. Anybody can be a drag queen that wants to perform as a queen. Basically, they're performing as that gender. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And just like the same thing with drag kings as well. And non-binary performers can be like, oh, well, I'm being a king tonight or a queen. Or they can just state that they're a non-binary artist. What's great about that is that drag, I feel, you get to define yourself within the community. And here in LA, it's growing a lot more. I see a lot more kings and stuff like that growing. And it's wonderful and beautiful to see, because I saw in London how big that scene is out there.
Yeah.
And I see this blooming and bursting, and I just want to keep seeing more and more. I'm like, more kings. Like, I was talking to somebody. I went to Queer as Punk last night.
I actually think I saw that on your Facebook. Or your Instagram.
On my Instagram, I went to Queer as Punk last night, which is like, they have queer punk bands, and then they have drag performers. And it was really great. And I was talking to somebody in the crowd that was, a heterosexual woman that was like, I want to get involved in drag. And I'm like, do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, but what about the community and stuff? And I was like, the community is fine with it. Drag is an open community. There are some members that might think otherwise, but that's not the way drag is. Yeah. Like, drag is very welcoming.
And that would be my question as a heterosexual woman, is because I think drag's awesome. And like, one of my favorite artists right now, Tiana Taylor. I love how she like embraces the drag culture. Like, she really has got. But I've never actually seen a drag king perform.
Really,
I've seen drag queens.
There's so many kings nights and stuff like that out here. There's Man Candy.
Where are these at? Are these in WeHo?
No, they're actually near. So, Queer as Punk was at the Virgil.
Okay, the Virgil.
And then...
Oh, that's Hollywood. That's right there.
Yeah. And then Man Candy just moved to Fault Line, and it was at Silver Lake Lounge before that.
Okay, Fault Line I've been to before.
Yeah, and then...
That's the one with the TV screens, right? Don't they have TVs?
They have like an indoor patio. It's the one that's all red with the red neon.
Yeah, okay.
And then also Gay Guts, which they have different drag performers, but they often have kings, and they are at Bordner's. Okay.
So and this may sound like a silly question, but do you, as a drag king, do you sing only male songs?
As of now, yes.
Okay.
But I have a whole list of songs and things that I want to perform and I want to do, like, especially being a DJ and stuff. I have a massive playlist of, okay, I'm going to do this song, and then I know what sound bites I want to incorporate into that. Yeah. So I mix my tracks. Yeah. And I do sing sometimes, and sometimes I lip sync. So there's a bit right now that I'm doing lately that involves LCD sound system. Okay. And it's really fun, and it's high energy, and with lip syncing, that allows me more movement. Okay. So I do want to at least sing that at some point, but I don't know which performance I'll actually like better because of the fact that I get to incorporate more movement into my body when I'm lip syncing. Yeah. So it all just varies and depends.
So did you like to dance when you were younger? Like, where is this, because even as you're talking, I can see like how happy and how passionate you are about this creative side of you. where is it coming from? And also, how did you get to a place to be completely comfortable with something that isn't what people, quote unquote, right, we all say is normal, which we know is bullshit. But,
well, yeah, I've never been normal. I think.
Well,
that,
what is normal?
Exactly. I think that everybody is weird. It's just a matter of finding your kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm fucking weird as shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I've always really been into music.
Okay.
And I was into acting as a kid.
Okay.
So,
are you from California?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was in like theater and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
I was
cool.
like once secretly in a play and my mom didn't even know it. Like I had the lead and then she got really mad because she didn't know that I had been in this play. And so she found another mom that had taped the play and got the tape.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always enjoyed being able to kind of have some sort of a creative form or expression, and I've always been really into music. I remember the file sharing days. Mm-hmm. So I'm 32. So
oh, you're so old. I'm turning 32 in March.
Yeah. So like, but I mean, like, you know, the original
disc.
the original days of the downloads
Yes.
of music. I don't know if we can name names here, but
Napster? No.
Yeah.
What was LimeWire?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. I was very big on downloading music, and so I got into all this kind of music because like music was one of my favorite things and favorite releases, and I would dance around. I would put on records. I knew I wanted to be a DJ when I was in elementary school, so I actually ended up in radio for like 8 years. And for me, radio and being a DJ and doing live sets, you still have that separation if you want to have that separation from people.
Yeah.
And so I like to challenge myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm in drag, I can be more outgoing. Like that's kind of the outgoing person that's within me, but but for some reason I keep it down a bit more.
Kind of like Beyonce is Sasha Fierce on stage,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So do you have an alter ego, or like do you have like, or is there a character, like, you know, for me, like when I kind of get into what I call my character, like I have definitely like an alter ego in my head of who I am.
Well, I feel like I just get overly confident. Not necessarily cocky, but like overly confident and just like, oh, okay, that happened on stage, keep going, nobody will notice.
That's great.
And
like, okay, wait, give me an example. What happened on stage that you kept going? Like,
okay, last time at Gay Guts,
okay,
my leg didn't quite fall off, but it slipped down because it was hot and I was moving around a lot.
You gotta explain to everybody.
So I have a prosthetic leg, and with a prosthetic leg, you have to put on a liner, which is like putting on like a suction. There's like suction to it, so it's like almost having a suction cup all the way up, you know, your thigh. So that slipped down because I had gotten sweaty.
I understand.
And then my leg was starting to dangle. And as I noticed that my leg was starting to dangle, I was like, all right, well, if I pop it up, nobody will know. And so I popped it up and I was like holding it up. And like just used it as a prop because I've popped off my leg because I've realized getting undressed is much easier if you pop off your leg rather than trying to struggle to rip off clothes over a leg.
Yeah. How long have you had? I mean, was it?
I've had my prosthetic for a couple years now.
Okay.
My leg was a problem a long time before then, but like I don't really tell that story unless like it's somebody that I really know.
Yeah.
But like it's really stupid that Uber drivers and Lyft drivers feel the need to just ask right away.
Really?
Oh, did you have an accident or what happened to your leg? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but you're not getting a tip for that.
Seriously.
That's ableism.
Yeah.
like
I mean,
no tips for ableism. I believe firmly in tipping people, so it's really hard for me to like do that. But
well, no, I completely get it. I mean, I think it's great that you're able to, in a sense, because I do the same thing in a different way with the way I have my own insecurities. Right? It's like I make a joke of it, and like how you're saying, like I just had to go with it. Like I think it's so good to go with things sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that drag has allowed me to be more okay with going with the flow. I mean, like, life in general, too, but drag has allowed that even more so. Because in DJing, in those performances, even in drag performances, I do analyze them after and be like, okay, this is where you could have done better.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm able to acknowledge that was a good performance. I feel content with it. I still feel like I could do better because I'm overachieving.
Yeah.
But I still feel like, oh man, that was a really good performance. Or I can admit when I was like, okay, I was really, really exhausted, but I'm proud that I still performed. You know?
Yeah, I completely get that. So do you, if you don't mind me asking, do you identify as non-binary or,
as a drag king currently, I identify as like he, him pronouns, but I do want to get more into non-binary terms. Well, I am a non-binary person and I do want to have like top surgery. So I feel like once I have that top surgery, because I have some really fun ideas for some bits.
Can you explain that to me, please? What do you mean by top surgery?
Okay, top surgery means that I'm not comfortable with my chest.
Okay.
So I want a more flat chest.
Okay.
And so they remove most of the tissue, and I get a more flat or more gender neutral chest. Some people prefer to have a more super masculine chest or sometimes pec implants or that kind of stuff. I'm just fine with a flat chest.
And just to like, so people can understand, when you say you're doing that, that doesn't mean that you, how do I say this without sounding, well, I am uneducated about it. Okay, people would then say, does that make you transgender? But it does not, because...
Well, it can in a way.
Okay.
It depends. I identify as non-binary, and once I go through that surgery and have altered part of my body, personally, I will identify as trans.
Okay.
But not entirely like transgender, because I'm not doing the full transition.
So just a trans woman.
No. Trans. I'm not a woman. I'm non-binary. So I would be a trans non-binary person.
Okay.
To gender non-conforming. There are many different terms that
like gender fluid. Is that the same?
Those are all very, very, very similar.
Okay.
And usually I find it best to, if somebody has their different definition, to have them define it.
Okay.
Because what that can mean entirely can have various minute differences to each individual person. So for me, like, being non-binary, I don't feel like I fit in either gender box. I feel pretty like genderless.
Yeah. One person said to me and let me know if this is kind of similar to how you feel, but they said, some mornings they wake up and they feel that they're more towards their feminine side, and some they feel they're towards their more masculine, so they feel, why do they need to pick?
Yeah. I do have some of those days too. Or like, I feel like once I have top surgery, I mean, I only have like a few dresses that I actually like to wear, but sometimes I will find a dress that I like, that I'll wear on a rare occasion, that I'm like, well, I like this dress. I actually like the way that this looks. And I feel like when I do feel more feminine on a day, I don't necessarily have to put on a dress to like be a little bit more feminine.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. And I also feel that like once my chest is flat, I can totally wear a dress. I'm not gonna like change that for somebody else's own comfort.
Yeah, that's that's for you.
Yeah, but I see more things in the medical field, at least too, where they're starting to ask, like, oh, hey, let us know if you have a preferred name, or let us know if you have, other pronouns.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's progress for some of the bigger health systems.
Yeah, I think I've seen actually some of that even like when filling out certain forms, just more, ability to choose, which is so funny because we should have the ability to choose whatever we want to identify as.
We should, but it's really scary when you also think about perhaps on government IDs and things like that, and then traveling to other countries where it might not be safe to be as out about that. So because I do travel a lot, I've considered those things when going into name changes and things like that, and what I eventually want my body to be like. And
did you? I spoke to somebody and they said I didn't know that now you can do X, right? As a gender?
Yeah.
So are you speaking of something like that? If for people who don't know.
Well, that's the thing is that I am non-binary. I wish that I could feel comfortable and safe enough to say non-binary on government IDs. But I actually feel safer by switching it to male because once I don't have a chest, I feel like that's safer. Yeah. I would still be way too afraid to go to Russia. But if I go to other countries, like I went to Malta before I went to London, and Malta was fine. Like I didn't see any problems with me. Like I feel like I just emit rainbows where I am. I feel like I'm pretty dang queer. But I feel like there are some countries where like it would be safer for me to have the male gender marker than female. Especially like I feel like my voice, and I can always alter my voice even more, and I can be like this, hey, what's up? Like nobody would know.
So do you, because you bring up two really good, big points I'm praying is one, how do you, because I can't imagine that people are always kind and that people don't say things or do things. How do you stay strong? Because I feel like the one thing that this world is becoming is everybody's so easily to talk about people and say nasty things. And like, I mean, you're only 32, but I'm assuming like, when you were 16, 15, like these aren't.
Oh, well, I was so far in the closet in my childhood for my own protection. I grew up in Orange County. I was bullied relentlessly.
Were you?
Like, I
By
had
girls, guys, like what? Or both.
Both.
Just because of who you were, like.
Yeah, freckles, high waters, hand-me-downs that I had to wear. Like, I'm type 1 diabetic. So when I was in elementary school, these girls lied to the whole school and told everybody to stay away from me because type 1 diabetes was contagious, and they knew because their mom was a nurse, which was a lie. Their mom was also not a nurse. And then they had to have an assembly, and I was the only type 1 diabetic in school. So you can imagine that didn't help the bullying at all.
No, not at all, because now the whole school's in.
Yeah. Like, it's obvious that this assembly is for me. It's not like I can be like, yeah. Who has diabetes?
So did you have or was there a role model, or were you just a strong person?
No, I had a few close friends, and that's how I survived. And actually, I still keep in touch with a couple of them. And funnily enough, a couple of them, are LGBTQ as well. So it's kind of like we found ourselves
without even
like in that little small town.
Yeah. It's crazy because you would think I'm from the East Coast, and you would think me hearing Orange County, California, I would think it'd be more like LA because.
No, the further south you go, in my experience, the more Republican and all that kind of stuff it gets.
Okay.
So, I mean, I have friends' parents from San Diego and stuff that I just see posting like Trump supporter stuff, and I'm like, oh.
So, without going too much into politics.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I mean, I want to discuss, because the thing is like, I think like not enough people from the LGBTQ community are getting a voice and talking about what's going on in on your side, because we talk about everything from black and white in a sense, right? There's only two sides. But like, how do you feel as far as being an American? Like, do you feel like
I've never felt proud in being an American and being a disabled person and being LGBTQ. The LGBTQ plus community, like, it's scary. And these things that are, I used to intern, and I did, campaign work for Equality California.
Okay.
So like, this political climate is very, very, very scary and terrifying, and we have to hope that enough of the younger generation does turn out and vote, because the younger generation, if enough of them voted, they could totally outnumber
everybody. Do you think the younger generation, because you and I are the same age, right? And the younger generation, though I love them, because I have a couple of my sisters young, but there's just not this drive to them that I feel like it was just missed in a sense.
I think it depends on the situation, but I think also they've been in their bubble for so long. But I do think that this current awful presidency has helped kind of wake up some of the younger generation.
Do you think the younger generation does support the LGBTQ plus community?
I've seen
majority. I'm saying as far as like your dealings when you come with people, I'm sure
I've seen more young people or young kids that seem to be more aware of it, and more just like, oh, okay. But I also think, I used to nanny, and kids when they're younger, they don't get taught to hate the LGBTQ community. They're not all of a sudden born and then they're like, I don't like this community. It's something that's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
And a learned attitude. And having conversations, helps kind of like educate them as well. But I think that there is hope for the younger generation.
I do. I definitely do. If you were somebody who was younger, say 16, 18, feeling similar to how you felt then, what would you tell that person? If they're listening to this podcast right now and they know they're just feeling stuck, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell you, be sure your environment is safe enough for you to come out. But when you finally do get to come out, that feeling of freedom will be worth it. Because I feel like in this day and in this generation, I feel like even in my hometown, there are more LGBTQ clubs in high schools and things like that actually do more supportive things. And there are more centers. So if somebody that was my age and was like 16 or 17 and even just trying to find out and figure it out, you don't have to be figured out at that age.
Yeah.
Like I was a late bloomer. I didn't have my first girlfriend until I was 21.
Yeah.
I was a late bloomer because I also didn't come out until I was like 20. But like still, I feel like you don't have to feel like you have to succumb to this pressure and like be with someone like right then and there.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to figure it out, like there are many LGBTQ centers usually somewhere near you, and you can find your local center and find support there and find free support there.
Yeah. Like if somebody's family doesn't support them, they can go to this place and they can find people who will support them.
Yes, and the LA LGBTQ center actually has housing for some, because some, I believe it's about 1 in 4 homeless youth are LGBTQ.
Wow.
And
that's not due to mental illness. It's due to the fact that they're young and their parents.
Yeah. So it's just something that the queer community still needs a lot of support. So
how do we support the queer community? How do we do that?
We talk about it like we're doing now. Like we talk about it. We tell people, we let some young kid out there know that there are shelters that are designed to. Unfortunately, there aren't a million beds because, I mean, that's what's needed. But you get people to be involved, volunteer. Even if you can't volunteer, if you tell your friends that feel like volunteering or can do something like that. Pride events are really, really great. Benefit shows, organizing benefit shows, like that's a lot of fun. And it's a great way to like connect with your community on multiple levels.
Yeah. I love that. We should throw a benefit show.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
A drag king benefit show with PooseBoss. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No
you
problem.
are amazing. And please tell everybody where they can find you on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Quincy Dents Official. So it's Dents like plural. So Quincy Dents Official on Instagram, and on Facebook, it's facebook.com/ and these are all capital, like not all caps, sorry, but like the first word is capitalized in each one. So Quincy Dents Does Drag.
Quincy Dents. And where are you performing next, Quincy?
I'm competing for Zombie Prom Zombie Prom at Fault Line on October 18th. So
we have to go.
Yeah.
I have a Halloween party on October 19th. You have to come. You can bring whoever you want, and you can be my special guest. You want to come?
I have to see how close everybody's parties are. That's a
I know, right?
day.
But no, we'll definitely come to the October 18th event. Let Sarah know.
Yeah.
We're intrigued. We're completely intrigued.
Yeah, I literally just booked it yesterday.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well,
yeah.
I'm excited. So look out for her there, guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed this random pussy. And this is your girl, Victoria Lynn. And remember to keep patting that puss.